Okay, what am I doing here? Apparently, some people wanted to join the discussion, the live stream, and I closed it out. So what I will do, I'll just go ahead and start talking about the Y chromosome, and then maybe some people will join, or maybe they'll join before it going. And I'm not sure about the reliability of my signal. We got a salvific deputy here.
Hello,
Shalom.
shalom, it's Will.
Mic problems?
Yeah, I think your microphone is lagging.
Oh,
Maybe try to.
what if it's my problem?
Yeah,
Hey,
I think
love nothing. Hello, Jungle Dog.
try to
There you go,
stop
Will.
sharing your
Yeah,
screen.
go ahead.
Maybe. Yeah, I said try to stop sharing your screen because you're lagging way too much.
What happened?
Here, I'll type in chat.
What happened here? What's happening? Yeah, it must be my stream. I'm thinking it's my stream. No good. Hey, there's Jake. I think I hear you, Will.
Hello.
Stop sharing your screen. You're lagging too much. Okay. Hello, Will. Okay, I'll stop sharing. Hold on. All right, is that better?
Yep.
Okay. All right, that's probably what it is.
Yeah, it's because you were sharing your screen. You used like a lot of your connection.
Yeah, that's probably what it was with Dan. Dan tried to join the discussion down straight, and it might have been a problem. Yeah, I don't know how reliable this is going to be. Did you see my live stream that I just made, or
Yeah, I mean, I've just pretty much got up.
oh, okay? Yeah, it was about my condition, my mental condition when I was 40 years ago or more, and
Oh, I'll
what I
take a
had
look
to
at
do.
that.
Yeah, and I posted a comment on a video that I wrote 2 years ago when I was still working, which is kind of interesting to me anyway. But yeah, so
Yeah, I
what's up?
mean, I've just seen like those atheists are starting to get more and more stupid
Well, they can't get smarter. That's the problem.
because they don't acknowledge the wisdom of God.
Yeah, it's not possible for them to get any better. They can only get worse because they never did have an argument, never did have any position. That's their problem.
Yeah, they don't acknowledge God, the fool despise wisdom.
Yeah, and instruction. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. And because the Bible says to depart from evil is understanding. And they don't have understanding because they don't listen and they don't depart from evil. So they get the fruit of their labor.
Yeah.
Whatever they sow, that's what they're going to reap. So, how's the weather up there in Quebec?
It's pretty good, man.
Yeah, that's good.
It's like probably like 17 outside.
Yeah, I have to go out and mow the lawn sometime today.
You have to go where?
Say 17? Oh, 17
Yeah,
Celsius, right?
probably
Yeah.
around 17, yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't have to go right now, but I'm just saying that if I ever get around to it, I gotta mow the lawn today. And it's not a small lawn; it's a pretty big lawn. Actually, it's a lot right beside me. You know, I think it might make the neighbors happy to see the lawn mowed instead of it growing wild all over the place.
Yep. Are you married? You're not married, right?
Um, at this time, I don't want to talk about it right now, but
Oh, okay.
it's not, because
Yeah.
I want to focus on what I believe is important, and that might be a distraction.
All what matter it's Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and we hope the best for everyone, regardless of who it is.
Yeah,
And
God
we,
is not willing that any may perish, and He does not take any pleasure in the death of the wicked.
right.
But rather they should
Okay,
repent
pigs
and
can
live.
fly. God bless. God
Hey, what up,
bless.
pigs?
Pigs can fly. There we go. I got somebody here. Dan straight. I don't know how the signal's going to hold up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
I can
Try
hear
to
it.
Disconnect and come back, Dan. Your mic is roboting.
Is
The
it?
mic is
Yeah, yeah.
a little bit staticky, but at least I can hear you this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe refresh. But I think it was my fault before. It still might be my fault here. So I don't know. And your screen, you're lagging too much. Maybe if I disconnect it altogether, maybe that'd be better, right?
Yeah, try
I'll
to.
go ahead and stop sharing the screen. Okay. All right. Less for the computer to deal with or the laptop to handle. Well, I had a really strange experience because I had an eBay account last year that I shut down, and it was shut down indefinitely. I had it shut down indefinitely. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
put a date for it to come back on, and apparently they said that if you do that, it'll turn back on after a year or so, and that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I started getting these emails saying I sold this and I sold that. And I'm thinking, what in the world? I didn't have anything hooked up. My printer wasn't hooked up. Hadn't logged into my eBay account for the longest time. So I was going crazy trying to figure out everything, get it hooked up, and all of my one computer that I had, they all sold out. The other one, there's like what, four left, four left of the other ones, and I was selling other things too. Honest the
Mm-hmm.
angel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was just stopping by to say hello. I'm gonna be on my way, but I was just wondering how you guys were doing, so I was just stopping by real quick.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you go to work, but I guess you don't work yet, right?
No, soon I'll start working 28th May.
Oh, that's good.
Yep. All right. God bless, JJ.
God bless. Salvific deputy. Anyways, Baptist Chad, Pigskin Fly, Dan Straight was trying to get in. Wanted to open up. And I was going to talk about the Y chromosome, but the problem is that if I start sharing, it seems to not work as well. But maybe I can share until somebody joins. See if that works. Okay, I have a share screen. Everything's good. Oh, we got Dan Straight here. Let me undo this. There you
Hey,
go.
JJ. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
It's a miracle.
Então, como é que tá? Você tá aprendendo a falar nosso idioma? A nossa,
A
do
nossa?
nosso Brasil. Yeah, do nosso Brasil. That's our. And
Oh,
it's a commonly used word because it happens to be part of an expression which means our lady. You know the expression "Our Lady"
mm-hmm.
and "Our Lady Mother Mary," but so they shorten it and they say "Nossa," our, and it's kind of like an expression. You know, it's like,
There's a lot of
but then it
Catholics.
also,
There's a lot
yeah,
of
it's a
Catholics.
Catholic thing, but it changes over into um, Brazilian identity. So whenever you say "Nossa," you're talking about the Brazilian identity. You know, so
Okay, I get it. I get it.
basically.
Yeah. Is there a lot of Catholics in Brazil?
um, Last I checked, it was 50-50. Oh, last I checked, actually, the evangelicals surpassed the Catholics.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 years back or something like that.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The evangelicals are probably mostly like Pentecostal like churches,
Yeah.
and believe in the gifts of the Spirit and all that stuff. So they still have some issues with the black magic and stuff.
Yeah.
Because they don't practice black magic, but they still believe in it, which is
Well,
which is yeah, which is a strange thing.
I don't know. I don't think it's too anti-biblical to believe that there's evil spirits and stuff, and you could summon them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but the
So
thing
to
is,
us, it's weird.
but the problem it becomes a problem because they believe that it can affect their lives.
Mm.
Which as a Christian is not supposed to affect your life.
Yeah. 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 I mean, they're. I guess. Well, in some places they're more like. Well, I don't know. I mean, Brazil's a big place, man. It's a lot of
It's
people.
huge, yeah. But I was impressed when I went to southern Brazil. It's
Hmm.
it's all the same thing. It's all the same.
Yeah. The language
Yeah.
changes though, because I hear it all the time. I used to
The
go.
accent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the difference between St. Paul or whatever it is and Rio de Janeiro. There's a difference.
Oh yeah. And southern Brazil is different too. And the northern northeastern eastern Brazil is different.
Yeah, you say está is St. Paulo, está Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah. And there's like an older Portuguese too, which you might hear sometimes where it's pronounced differently. It's like an older kind of dialect Portuguese.
Oh, wow! Even when if you go to Google Translate, you got Portuguese,
Yeah.
Brazil, Portuguese in Brazil, and then you have another Portuguese. So you even have that on
Yeah.
Translate, multiple Portuguese.
Yeah. Well, when I go on Google Translate, it usually gives me the Portuguese from Portugal, and it's very annoying.
Yeah, you have to choose. Oh god. Well,
Não
well,
posso falar. Não posso falar.
she
So,
she's evangelica. That's what she said. She said, "No, me no Catholic.
evangelica.
Evangelica."
Evangelica. Yeah, that's not Catholic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a big difference. I mean, not a big difference, but it's important. An important difference.
I agree. I agree. So what's going on, JJ? How you been? You were up late this morning, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I was talking because was talking with the other people, and then there was Candace, and nobody else
Yeah, I heard you talking
joined.
to
I guess.
Candace. you were like fading out. You're like, I think it's past my bedtime.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was losing it, but yeah, and I have to go. Sometimes if I don't sleep, it's hard to go to sleep for a little while. So you just kind of like have to relax
Yeah.
and wind down and forget everything. I usually put like a video on or something for me to listen to, and then I'll just go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's different now that you're done working, so you don't have like that set schedule anymore.
Yeah, so I'll sleep 3 hours in the morning, and then I'll sleep, then I'll sleep 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon. Crazy.
Yeah. I get.
And I gotta maybe mow the lawn today. But it's funny. There was an Indian saying that says if you don't do something today, maybe it wasn't worth it. Maybe you just do it or something like that. I forget how it goes.
uh, it's okay. It wasn't meant to be. Uh, oh my god! I heard Brazil's actually really bad with COVID now.
Yeah, and, and I don't know why,
I know why.
but yeah,
They
that's
don't. Well, they don't care as much about all the restrictions and all that stuff. They don't care as much.
well in India they have a real problem too because the population. It's fine. I guess it's penetrating the population or something.
Yeah.
The big populations, and Brazil is one of them.
Hmm.
So so I don't know if it's as bad in the north. I mean, there is. There was thousands of people that died in the north, but I think in the south might be even worse. And Sao Paulo is a big city. Sao Paulo is
Yeah.
much bigger than New York.
Yeah. I was
I mean,
talking.
New York,
I was talking about her with that today. Actually, she was telling me St. Paul is like huge, like
yeah,
gigantic.
New York is a joke compared to Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
You
She
know,
was
it's
same thing.
you can drive. It takes an hour to get halfway through the city on a bus.
Well, she said the traffic is
I mean,
ridiculous. Traffic is out of
the
control.
the main part of the city, yeah. Yeah, but that's with no traffic. Even with no traffic, it takes like an hour to get halfway through the city. Basically, it takes all. If you want to go somewhere in the city, it'll take all day, basically.
That's crazy. Local.
Yeah, it's huge, huge population, and it's spread out too.
Yeah. I know you were talking about schizophrenia before. I mean, mental illness runs in my family. So, like, I had
Yeah,
cousins with schizophrenia, and I had an uncle with schizophrenia.
yeah, it's a horrible thing.
Yeah.
It's
Well, my cousin committed
totally.
suicide, and my
Yeah,
uncle,
oh, that's
my
horrible.
uncle's on medication,
Yeah,
and my cousin was. I mean, he was like such a nice guy, man. He was a Christian. He
yeah,
he'd give you the shirt off his back in a heartbeat. He's
yeah,
such a good guy, and his wife ended up cheating on him with his best friend, and I don't know. He just lost it, I guess. I
yeah.
don't know. It's just a tragedy. It's terrible.
Well, that could have happened to me. I think just as easily. You know,
Praise
I
God.
was
You're
I
all
was
right.
very fortunate. I was fortunate, yeah, and I do attribute it to my my the blessing of having the Word of God taught to me at a young age. Honest Angel says my grandmother had it.
Yeah, it's weird to hear people say "had it." I mean, praise God, had it, because most people just have it. you know, they don't. They don't.
Yeah,
They don't stop having it.
right. It's that's what I want to try to do. If I can, collaborate with some psychiatrist or something to see if I can, help a lot of people. But apparently, nobody seems interested.
Yeah, well, because if you go, I mean, they attribute everything to chemicals in your brain, right? So if you're talking about any kind of mental ailment or illness, you know, they're gonna say it's either a you have too much of some chemical or not enough of another chemical in your brain. Serotonin
Right.
or melatonin or what any of those.
And that's the reason why I said your actions will determine will, how you feel. Because if you don't have a certain amount of chemical in your brain, there's a reason for it. And
Sure.
it's probably related to your actions, or could be related to your actions, because the way you feel depends on what you do
Yeah,
in many cases. That's why I was talking about that.
it's definitely a
Because,
correlation. No doubt.
if if something's off balance, there's probably a reason for it. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's diet, I guess, or something like that.
Probably it's a multitude of things. It could be exactly like what's going on in your life, how you're living, what you're
Right,
doing,
right.
and it could be your diet. You're missing something. It could
Stress.
be all those things. Stress,
I
all those
think I
things.
think stress had to do it with my case, stress, and a lot of people it's stress and things like that.
I talked to a psychiatrist before, and I mean, basically, when they say like when they give you these drugs for depression, it's like they're literally it's like a guessing game. It's not like
Oh yeah,
they don't do some kind of test to test the levels
right,
of whatever in your brain, and
right.
then like there's this certain number they're looking for. No, that's not what they do at
Yeah,
all. They just literally
and
here
and
try
they
these, try these, try
and
these.
the worst thing is when they diagnose you, they're not even sure what you have, so they'll prescribe one drug for one condition when in fact you have another condition, and then so they'll keep trying different drugs to see if they can happen to get the one that
Yep.
fits your condition.
Yeah, and
That's
also these
crazy.
drugs they don't work like immediately. It's not like a pain pill where you take it and it hits you and it takes away your pain.
Right.
No, these medications you got to take them
It,
for a week or 2 weeks to
it
build
takes
up in your system.
yeah, it takes days. Yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly. It's true.
yeah, one time they tried to put me on some kind of antidepressant, and I took it. It made me feel like a million times worse. I felt like I was like all I felt
Yeah,
like bad, like really bad. It actually made me depressed. And I told him and he took me off it right away. And then I never took anything like that
yeah,
ever again. But yeah, I mean they just hand out
yeah.
things like they're candy or something. They just hand out
Candy.
they
Yeah,
just hand out drugs. It's weird.
that's that's horrible. It could kill somebody. And then
Yeah.
they yell at us. They yell at us for not speaking with authority.
Mm,
On different kinds of things. Like health and
yeah.
wellness and fitness and stuff like that. Well, you have to have a degree to
Yeah.
to be prescribed some horrible medication.
Yeah. I mean, I think the US consumes more prescription drugs than like anywhere else in the world. By
Yeah,
far. By
and it
far.
turns out that a lot of these mass shooters are on medication.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
they
that's
give them to young people, which is crazy too. When I hear like
yeah,
a 6-year-old on like some kind of like drugs, I'm like, what? What? It's a kid. Are you kidding me?
yeah. To keep them under control because they're out of control, right? They want to calm them down and
Yeah, yeah.
and
Well, just
control
drug
them.
them. Just drug it.
Just
It's like crazy to me. It's so crazy.
yeah. And I mean, even babysitters sometimes will give the people they babysit some kind of medication or something to make them, knock them out, so there won't be so it'll be less trouble or something.
That's insane.
I've actually seen that happen.
That's insane. Yeah. I mean, I mean, I think our society's sick in the head. I mean, like just really sick. Because think about it, they're drugging children. They'll sex
It's
changes on children, hormone replacement on children. It's like what is
it's
going?
the atheist. It's the atheist's fault. It's atheism. It's rejection of God. It's not learning God's word, and it's rejecting God's word. That's what the problem is.
Yeah, yeah, and they wonder what's missing. Like why is everything so crazy? It's like because you're
Why is it
pushing
so
away the one thing that makes sense. The one,
right?
you know, they push
And,
away
and
the
they
one
wonder
thing.
they wonder what's wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, they have no foundation for anything. It's just ridiculous. No focus, no purpose. So they look for a purpose in their identity. Like I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, I'm this, I'm that. It's like
Yeah.
what? Yeah,
When when it happens to people like Bruce Jenner, then it's like what?
yeah, right. It's wild, man. How can that dude be happy? I mean, come on.
It's like you mean his life was so horrible or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Probably because the women were getting all the attention, and he didn't get no attention.
Who knows, man? I can never wrap my head around something like that. I mean, that's Can you
I mean,
imagine?
he was the symbol of masculinity. A lot of people don't know, but he was like the symbol of masculinity. It's
He's a
like
freaking Olympic star. Oh my
that's
god.
crazy. It's
It is. It's wild, man. It's like you have to be seriously very like unhappy. He'll never be happy trying to do whatever the heck
yeah.
he's doing.
Oh, what do I got? I got somebody here. There's pigs. Let me close
It's all
out
good.
this
Hey,
other
pigs.
screen because it might destroy something here.
What's up,
Yeah, I
pigs?
agree with you, Dan. I was listening to you, talk about how our society and um, I think that it's just that a lot of people are not, coming to the conclusion that God exists, and so it's causing a lot of issues with the way that they perceive the world, and they have to find meaning somewhere. So they're like, why not, create some new gender? No, why not, say that we can be, use ambiguous terms, of course, the way they've been doing things right now. I just think it's kind of crazy that people have not noticed that.
And then what happens when they get tired of it or change their mind?
Yeah.
Right.
They've
Well, I mean,
destroyed their life,
the
basically.
one thing that's sad is that they don't realize that they're playing into the hands of the globalists too. On top of that, I mean, a lot of people that are advocating the things that are going on right now with like the infinite number of genders and other nonsense like that, they're also advocating for like abortions and forced sterilization of children, things like
No.
that. It's just
Forced
insane.
sterilization.
I don't
Like,
think anybody knows what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing.
well,
Nobody,
it's funny
nobody
because
has a
they're gonna
clue.
let a kid that doesn't even get the chance to or doesn't even get to pick his bedtime. he doesn't get to go smoke or do anything like that, watch pornography, none of those things, but of course he can chop his member off, right?
Oh,
Like, are you serious? What kind of decision are you giving this kid here,
yeah.
and why? Like, what's the purpose behind it? Oh, maybe because you want him to be sterile so that he can't produce, right?
It's like
It's pretty obvious to me.
I mean, there was times where my daughter wanted to be a dog. Like should I have let her? Okay, sorry. She wants to be a dog. We're gonna build a dog house, and we're gonna like
Right.
feed her out of a bowl on the floor.
We're
I
gonna
mean,
leave her
that,
outside in the cold in a little
yeah.
house. It's
Like,
like,
I
no,
mean,
are you kidding me?
yeah, it's insane. It's insanity.
She doesn't have the physiology to even live outside like that.
But I mean,
I
that's
have a
the
2.5-year-old.
mentality of it. We're gonna embrace whatever the child feels like for the day. Like, it's just
That's just
insane.
stupid. I agree. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, yeah, when I was a kid, like, I used to imagine being a Power Ranger. Do you think I was really a Power Ranger? No. Can I, go hop into a giant, massive robot and fight crime? I don't think so.
Hey,
Um,
my cousin believed he was like a Superman or something, and he's a twin, and it literally his his brother was down on the ground and he was on the second-story balcony and he jumped off.
Oh my
He, ju-
gosh.
he jumped off like he was Superman, like he could fly. And of
Yeah.
course, he broke his wrist. He broke his whole jaw, knocked out
Wow.
some teeth. Yeah. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, that's the price. That's the price we
Yeah,
pay for trying to defy the laws of physics. So,
I mean, but maybe we should have embraced it and brought him up to the roof instead. like
right.
it's
And no,
insane.
you really are
Brought him up
Superman.
to
You
the
just don't
third
have
story.
you don't know that you're Superman yet. So we gotta make you. They throw him off the roof. They
Yeah.
just toss him off.
Your cape wasn't big enough. That's all.
Your cape wasn't
your
big
cape.
enough. It wasn't blue
Yeah.
enough actually, or red enough. It doesn't really matter though. I don't know. There's just so much nonsense out there right now. You guys have heard of, like, the people that are like pansexual. They literally like they get aroused by whenever. I'm like, why does anybody even know about this stuff, right? Like,
Exactly.
who cares if that's what you do, right? Like, I could go on living without you telling me about that, right? And the reason I'm bringing it up here is because I've heard it, like, I don't even know, like, at least 1,000 times online that people are like, any various type of sexual. I'm like,
Yep.
oh my
I think
gosh, like,
that's being exposed to pornography at a young age probably twists your mind
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's people destroying people's lives.
Yeah.
what was that?
definitely.
You guys have seen that video by Bill Nye, the science guy, where he had the new show that was on Netflix for a while,
Yeah.
and it was talking about all the different
he did a
spectrum.
video, right? Is that the video he made?
Is that the
talking
gender dance? The gender
Yeah,
video?
where they had this
Yeah.
lady. She was like singing in some like rap song about gender, and they removed the old clip that he had from his old show, and in that one, that they were talking about how there's only two genders. Of course, there's male and female. You can either have a X chromosome, XX chromosome, or a Y chromosome. And they completely erased that one as if it wasn't science. I'm
The
like,
scientific one. They erased
I'm
the
like, there are
scientific
only
one.
like there
Oh,
are only
God.
two here. I mean, you can only be XX or XY. And then I actually had a discussion, like maybe it was, I want to say like 4 months ago. Somebody was trying to argue with me saying, what about XYX or XXY and all these other, chromosomal alterations? I'm like, first of all, that's like literally 1 in a million. Second of
Right.
all, so that's an outlier, right? Second of all, those people often choose to be one or the other. They don't go and stay in between, And
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna pick the extreme to be the norm, right?
right. I'm like, just because you pick one outlier doesn't mean that you have a case here. Like,
Yeah.
1 in a million, if you count that among the entire global population, you're talking about maybe 10,000 people on the whole planet.
Yeah.
And you're going to try to align that for everybody, apparently.
Well,
There's
that's like
billions of
basing
people here.
abortion. It's like basing abortion on the on the small
Right, on the outliers of the
cases
rape
where-
incidents.
Yeah, where the woman could die or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you wouldn't
like-
base it on that.
Well, first of all, I've never known a woman that was well, okay, I shouldn't say that. Okay. I have not known a woman that is actually trying to be a mother that wouldn't give up her own life for her child, right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
So it's to me, it's that we're not producing women, or at least not teaching them to be appropriate women. And that's the biggest problem. There's just so much vanity. There's so much, nonsense out here with the propaganda. They want to be like men, as far as having like these equal paying jobs. I'm like, you get paid more than the average man anyways. I don't understand what your problem is here. But then you also have the issues where they actually think that they are as strong as men, that they are more capable in certain things. I'm like, yeah, there's certain things that you are capable at that we can never do.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean. Sorry.
It causes psychological problems too when the woman does make the wrong decision to abort their own child. Then
Right.
even if she doesn't, if
inconvenience
she
sake.
thought it was a good thing, she still has psychological problems and nightmares
Yep.
because of it.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard so many times where people have actually attempted to abort their children, and they regretted it like for the rest of their life. It was just something they never got over.
Right. And
There's also the children
that's
that were attempted to be aborted, and they didn't actually die. They survived, and they lost limbs. They, were horrifically affected by this. One girl actually survived. She was. They used one of those acid bath methods to basically put the baby. I think they like spray a type of acid inside of her uterus, and then it like it's supposed to melt the baby basically.
yeah.
And she survived it. And when she came out, like all of her skin, of course, it came off. And so she actually made a full recovery, thank God, But the way that it happened, her skin was just completely gone. Like she had like no way to defend herself from, from like viruses, things like that. And so it just caused a lot of problems for her down the line. And I forgot the girl's name. She wrote a book about it, and it was pretty horrific.
It sounds like a nightmare. Oh my god.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. Our society's definitely sick. It's definitely sick.
Yeah. You know what I really hate? That show Grey's Anatomy. My wife is obsessed with it.
My ex-wife used to make me watch that garbage all the time.
It's so much propaganda in that show. It pisses me off.
All shows.
Yeah, I can't even watch TV because the propaganda they got in it.
Well, I mean, it's just like literally every other episode was like, homosexual actions constantly, or promoting some kind of crazy religious nonsense, or saying that stating that Christians are just like insane religious folks that are whimsical and focused on only their emotions. Like, what kind of nonsense is wrong with what's going through these people's heads here?
Yeah.
Then they have sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Law and Order is the same way, because that's a show I usually watch all the time. Yeah, they push all kinds of stuff, and they're like stuff I never noticed before.
Yeah, it's the same here. Yeah, like I just recently started watching some stuff online that I was like, wait a second. I remember watching this as a younger guy, and I never noticed this stuff. Yeah, like when I go back and watch the movie Shrek, you'll see so many parallels with some of these movies now that go directly to the Bible. It's crazy. It's so crazy. Like what's his name? Prince Farquaad, right? He's in a place called Dulov, and his Dulov is supposed to be a perfect place, right? So essentially, this is like a parallel to heaven, right? And he wants perfection. That's his goal, his end game. So, right, essentially, you could call him the God figure in this situation, right? There's at the end of the movie, you remember how he gets eaten by the dragon?
Yeah.
They're basically twisting the gospel to make it to where the beast kills God.
Wow.
There's a lot of other things that go into that too, but I mean, they have the talking donkey, right? That's the only. What other story do you know of in history from any other culture that has a talking donkey but the Bible?
Yeah, it's true. I didn't even think about that, to be honest.
Yeah. And so Shrek, he's the talking donkey. That's with him all the time. Of course, the talking donkey starts having babies with this dragon, apparently, in the later movies.
Yeah.
So spawn of Satan, if you ask me. Just some crazy stuff in that. But I mean, and I know they're just doing this to make fun, and I get that it's supposed to be satire, but it's just obviously it's like blatantly anti-gospel. It's anti-God in the first place. And so remember how so Shrek comes from a swamp, right? The swamp would be hell essentially, right? He's like, I live and I own this place, right? I own this swamp. It's my swamp. You're putting all these fairy tale creatures here, and I want them out, right? And so the whole point of this story is just for him to go out and find this princess, which, remember, Jesus is looking for a bride, right? The bride is the church. And so essentially in this version of the gospel, they're taking it and flipping it on its head, where the bride falls for Satan, essentially. And,
Pigs, thanks for ruining Shrek for me. Thanks.
I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I'm so good about stuff like that. I can never look at movies again, man. Not the same way I used to. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, but it used to be back in the day that movies and stories, they all had a
deeper meaning,
story, a moral point to it, meaning to it. Now they've the
run out of ideas.
the sane people have taken over the insane asylum, and
Yep.
now they're just pushing all this irrational stuff or godless stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of propaganda out there.
It's
But
the insane have taken over the insane asylum.
well, like BLM, like they're open Marxists. They said that like the 3 people that are in charge of the place are trained Marxists.
Right.
I mean, they're just one step away from being a communist.
Yesterday's protesters are today's politicians.
Right.
I mean,
And
that's a matter of fact. That's a matter of fact.
mhm.
With Hussein Obama and in Brazil, they had these 2 terrorists that that were part of the communists who tried to overthrow Brazil, and the military took over.
Yeah.
Guess who became president of Brazil? Those 2 terrorists became president of Brazil.
Were they part of
Yeah.
like an oligarch?
Yeah, yeah. There's
Wow.
Lula da Silva and Dilma.
Wow.
What's her name? And this Dilma was like uneducated. Same with Lula, was like not very educated either. He was just like a Labor Party or something.
Yeah.
But 2 terrorists, both of them became president of Brazil, and they were both terrorists.
That's insane.
I mean, literal terrorists.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that like whenever there's like an insurrection, oftentimes it turns into an oligarchy, and then that's what becomes the ruling power for a society. And
And they almost destroyed Brazil too. They almost destroyed Brazil, and today the only reason why it's not destroyed yet is because today they elected a Brazilian Trump.
It's crazy how
And-
the people will just kind of like allow these things to happen.
yeah.
like-
well, we're finding out that they get into office by election fraud. So, but that's another thing. But I didn't say
Yeah.
anything about election fraud.
I mean, they're not going to report it probably if it's already that corrupt, then it's going to be difficult to get it out there. What's going on, son?
But that you see, I used to
Yeah, you don't
wonder
want to
how
people.
these guys get elected. How do they get elected? Who's voting for these people? It's all
Yeah.
manipulation.
Yeah, it's
of the
true.
system.
Same thing that happened with Bo Biden.
Yeah,
I
I
think
can't.
that
Yeah, who's going to vote for that guy?
What are you
On the
talking about? He's the most
platform that he
popular
had. Who's gonna
president
vote?
ever. What are you talking about?
More popular than
It's-
Obama?
Yeah,
More
everybody
popular
loves
than,
Joe.
are you serious?
oh man, gotta love when that guy's
Unbelievable.
sniffing your hair, right?
It's
Unbelievable.
insane.
That
It's
poor
so
little girl.
insane.
I bet she was so freaked out.
It's crazy.
Man, there's just so much corruption out there right now. And I mean, I'm praying for these people. I just hope they repent and change their ways. But
Well, they're destroying the world. They're destroying the world. It's not just here. It's the whole world. They're destroying the whole world.
well, you guys
Yeah.
know about Kamala Harris and her background too, right?
Kabbalah?
Yeah, Kamala.
Kamala.
That lady, yeah, whoever you want to call her. So I think that she was intentionally placed, as VP just in case Joe, is gone soon. Probably they're going to kill him off. I don't know. But
That's horrible. That's horrible.
I mean, seriously
But
though.
it's-
But the thing is, she got into politics because she was a call girl, and she knew one of the senators. I forgot the guy's. He's a black guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And so she was sleeping with this guy. And I think within 2 years, she had made it to governor through his recommendation.
She was a prostitute, huh?
Yeah, she was a call girl, and that's the only reason why she's in politics at all. Period.
I shouldn't be laughing. That's horrible.
She doesn't have any background at all, no expertise. She was a call girl. That's it. And I mean, they'll try to prompt her up and say she's this and that. No. I guarantee you, this girl doesn't have any background. No understanding of science. She doesn't have a BA or higher. Nothing. Okay.
Well, actually, pop culture does try to prop up prostitution, like it's a good thing.
True.
Like a woman could, embrace her body and do what she wants with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, the sexual revolution, which I think is just a bunch of nonsense. But
Yeah.
I mean, sex is great, but the thing is, it clearly only really counts if it's with somebody that you care about, right? And again, that's the argument that a lot of these, homosexuals and transsexuals are talking about. They're trying to say, well, I mean, I want to be, in a committed relationship with one person, right? But
Yeah.
then if you take a look at the actual statistics for relationships between these individuals, you turn out to find that they don't ever actually stay with the one person, right? In fact, even within monogamous relationships, apparently, they will still have up to 10 partners throughout their years together.
Yeah,
That's
I've
insane.
heard.
So it's like an
Yeah, I've
open
heard
relationship.
terrible statistics. Like same with things like abuse in homosexual
Oh, it's
relationships
good.
is like
It's crazy. Yeah, sexual abuse, especially for adopted children, it's just insane. And I'm not
You
saying
know-
that it's a whole lot better for people that have adopted and then, of course, intended to abuse the child. That's a whole other thing. But
Yeah, but did you
the
hear
likelihood, though, is far less.
Did you hear the statistic on the percentage of children that adopted children by homosexuals that become homosexual?
Oh no, I haven't heard that, but I mean, I wouldn't doubt that they're probably being abused. And then, of course, it's
It
it's
was
interesting. You guys have heard of
It's
Milo
something like
Yiannopoulos?
30%, though. It's like 30%.
30%. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Okay. The regular population
Oh
is
my
like
gosh.
less than 1% is gay, right? Or 1% or something like that.
Right.
30% of children adopted by homosexual couples become gay. You tell me that's
which
not
is
shocking.
contrary. It's
It's
contrary to their
indoctrination, man.
claim. That's contrary to the claim of indoctrination. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
It blows away the genetic claim that it's genetics.
right. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it just blows it out of the water. I mean, come on.
You guys should look up, like I said, Milo Yiannopoulos. He is a political commentator, but he had, I guess, a falling out or whatever with Breitbart a while back. But
yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah. So apparently he's no longer gay. He's actually come to Christ. And
wait, seriously?
I mean,
when did you hear that?
Yeah,
I heard
it's
that. Yeah.
recent.
He said he's not gay anymore. I know he was
not
gay.
gay
That's
anymore.
That's why you've
he's not gay
never
anymore.
heard about him.
He actually
That's why you've
denounced
never
all the
heard
things that
about
he
him
did.
recently.
Wow.
Yeah, he denounced all the things
Right.
that he did, and he said that he made a full repentance. He's actually he's celibate is what he said. He's trying to be more like a Catholic priest. And I think that he's actually Catholic, but he believes the actual doctrine that Jesus is God and that he did die and then rise on the third day. So I consider him to be a Christian, even though he says he's a Catholic.
Catholics believe that Christ died for their sins and he rose on the third day.
Yeah.
They believe in that.
And the Catholics
I'm praying
are
that he'll-
influenced
Yeah.
by
I'm praying that he'll
evangelicals too.
come out of that, because he was. So the problem he actually had is that he was raised Catholic, and then he had a priest. I forgot it was a bishop, somebody that had apparently been molesting him since he was a child, right?
Yeah.
And so that of course led to some other things. And then when he was in college, he was raped by his roommate as a black man. I don't know the guy's name, but he said he doesn't hold it against the guy. And that's really his story of how he became gay, as far as that goes. And then he just lived in harsh debauchery for his, 12 years, something like that.
Right. So he became a Catholic.
Well, I mean, that's the interesting thing. He said, I've learned forgiveness, and this man has since passed away as well. So he didn't have the chance to really come to his abuser and to reconcile what happened. But anyways, long story short, though, he was explaining about how he believes that literally every you see, his case is that he doesn't believe that people are just born gay the way that this it's all propagated. Of course, I never thought that either, but that it's a product of your environment and how things are done to you or what you're exposed to, right?
Yeah.
And he said, if any homosexual is telling you that they've never been abused, I would beg to differ on that. I would hold that highly skeptical.
Yeah. Well, abuse has different forms too. I mean, there's not just physical abuse. You know what I mean?
That's right. It's a psychological abuse as well. And see, that's the thing is, he said that one of the reasons why he even stayed homosexual for a time is because even though he wasn't really gaining pleasure out of it the way he had used to initially, he was saying that he had an animosity for himself. He literally hated himself, and so he thought of it as more of like a punishment. And so this, I mean, you gotta hear his recent lectures. He's got some really good stuff now about it, and he's actually created some kind of a like a rehabilitation center sort
Wow.
of for people
Yeah.
that are gay that are trying to no longer be gay. Does that make sense? Like they don't believe that it's the right life to live and things like that. So
Well, he was always kind of a rational person, rational type
Yeah.
person. So that's probably what helped him. You know?
yeah, it's funny
Yeah.
because he was calling out lesbians long before. He's like, there's no such thing as a lesbian because you guys have such a fluid, sexual promiscuous life. You can't call yourself lesbians, right? It's like there's only maybe 3 actual lesbians on the whole planet, and it was pretty funny. He's like, Rosie O'Donnell might be one of them. But it's just really ridiculous, though. If you take a look at the statistics regarding the sexual encounters between homosexuals, especially homosexual men and other men, they literally have upwards of 100 different partners within.
Easy
I think
business.
it said it was like a 25-year span or something like that.
Wow.
and you
And then
wonder why disease
that?
spreads. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah, you wonder why
That's-
there's so many venereal diseases, and then this is what's happening on a daily basis in some places.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you
yeah.
tell me they're not just trying to find happiness somewhere, and they'll just never find it. Then go through 100,
Right.
200, 300, 400. They just become more miserable.
Yep, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. But
Obviously,
remember, they're trying to just
Milo-
get married to one person. Remember?
Obviously, Milo never found happiness. In that. Neither will anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, being in a committed relationship is one thing, but assuming that you really do care about somebody, right? What are you willing to go through sacrificially to be with that person, right? Whenever you see all these movies,
Yeah,
the propaganda movies that they put out, where they're like, "Oh, this person waited for me so long, right? And I still love them, even though they're married to some other person." First of all, if that person's married, you should just forget about them. That's what I would say.
Right.
Like right off the bat, don't even look at them. Like, stop it.
Right.
You're going to
Yeah.
cause problems for their relationship with their husband or wife, right?
Of course.
And that's antithetical to what God wants us to do, right? So stop doing that. Second of all, if you really love that person, right, you're going to do the right thing, no matter what that might be. If it's not talking to that person, or if it's telling them the truth about something that's happened, then do it. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we're all perfect. I'm just saying that we need to try to adhere as much as we can, and pray for
Yeah.
God to give us strength for the things that we can't do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
mean,
these
then-
are all things that they're all
I
things
just-
that John the Baptist and Jesus warned us about.
That's right.
That would happen if we, because there's consequences for the sin. Sorry, Dan. go ahead.
I was
No,
just
you're
gonna
right.
say, I just got divorced, but not. I mean, believe me, I tried. I mean, you can't make someone else
Yeah.
want to be in a relationship. You just can't do it. I
No,
tried.
you're right.
I tried. It's not like I wanted this to happen. You know what I mean? I didn't initiate
Yeah.
any of it, and I tried. It's just it's difficult for me. Which
Yeah, it
my,
really
my
is.
ex-wife
Yeah.
is not a believer. She's atheist, basically.
Well, I mean,
So-
if I remember correctly, the Bible does say that not to be unequally yoked.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is against you in any way. I'm just saying I think that it could be that God is just removing her from your life right now for a reason, right? And maybe she could be reconciled to you. We don't know
Well-
what God has planned, but
Well, I mean, there is a case in the Bible where God told the Israelites to get rid of their foreign wives.
Yeah.
Because of
Yeah.
the influence.
hard.
Because of the influence. Yeah.
I was going to say, I mean, I stood in a church and made promises to God, to her. It's difficult for me. It was very hard.
I can imagine, yeah. Especially if you were actually married and you spent lots of time together. It can be very
Yeah, well,
difficult to let go of that. I
10
definitely
years.
understand.
10
Yeah,
years.
goodness. You guys have more
Yeah.
time in your belt than me and my wife. So,
Yeah.
Right.
but yeah, I mean, and see, that's the thing is I think that one thing about women is that they do so many things based on their emotions and not on rational appeal, right? And that's why I have that problem with the show Grey's Anatomy, because that a lot of women are probably watching that and they're probably like, oh, I could connect with this because it's so emotional and it has it's so much so many bad things that are happening. It's just I can relate with so much. I mean, there's a couple of times where I started to feel like I was like, yeah, this is pretty emotionally moving. I'm not gonna lie, right?
But it's crazy. It's crazy when you see people in multiple relationships. You see this one girl,
Mhm.
and she's confused. She doesn't know who she loves because of multiple relationships, and she's
Yeah.
breaking down, crying because she doesn't know who it is that she loves more. I mean, it's
That's
like
right.
it's crazy. You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one thing to have options and to try to just find the best candidate. I get that, but it's like, first of all, if you're not sleeping around, you won't have that issue. You'll just be able to do it based on what they're saying to you and the things that they do around you, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you're making these sexual committed relationships that you don't realize are actually commitments, that's when things start to really break down and cause lots of problems. Like when I was in the Navy, I was living a very promiscuous life. And I mean, I had relationships with multiple girls, and I was a
Sailor.
horrible human being. But I mean, seriously, I was just like, I didn't care. That's all I cared about was I was a hedonist basically, and watching porn all the time. I didn't care what anybody thought. I was just doing my thing, and of course, now I hate myself for the things that I did, and I had serious remorse whenever I came to Christ afterwards. But long story short, though, it was tearing me up inside whenever I was rejected by somebody one time, because I knew that I had been living this horrible life. Like in my soul, I just knew I had been doing all these things I don't deserve. I don't even deserve the opportunity to have that, right? And but I knew that I was rejected for the right reasons, and so it was just tearing me up inside. And I'm like, why is this happening to me? Just super angry. And I mean, now I'm blessed. I have a wonderful wife and I have beautiful children. But I mean, whenever you're in times like that, when you don't have anything to fall back onto, like it can throw you into a serious depression, like really, really rough. So my heart goes out to people that are in that situation.
Biggs, do you mind me asking you what your background is? I mean, heredity is it? You said it was it Hispanic or what is it?
Yeah, my dad's Puerto Rican and my mom is Scotch Irish, and then my wife, she's Navajo, Hopi, and Mexican, apparently, like a couple generations back. So yeah, my children are like a melting pot. They're mutts. But
well, then
everyone is mutts.
Probably better
True,
off than a lot of us. That's for sure.
Well, it's interesting.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit staticky, but it's.
I just got new headphones. I was trying to. Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's worse.
Well, I was just gonna say that apparently the Navajo, or I'm sorry, I think it's the Hopis. They have this special. So whenever children are born, they have the ability to get bruised on their back. It's like a green bruise, and it just happens naturally. There's nothing that like causes it to occur. It just kind of shows up, but it's the natural trait from the Hopi tribe, and that's why they know whether or not somebody is that type of Native American. And so all three of my children have that. So what's that?
What is it? A bruise or green?
Well, it looks like a green bruise, but apparently it's just a discoloration in the pigments there, and it's not like it doesn't hurt or anything like that. It's just like that's what it looks like. And yeah, so the doctors had to explain that to us because I was like, "What happened? We didn't do anything to my son, and he's got these bruises here. We don't know what's going on." And they're like, "What was his lineage?" And then so we went over to some of the genetics there, and they were like, "Yeah, so the Hopi Native American tribe, they have a genetic disorder that causes this discoloration to occur. It doesn't stay long though. It's only within a certain range. I think it's within 3 years, and so." Yeah, so that's happened to all three of my kids, and praise the Lord that we're not actually, seeing them in some kind of serious, debilitating disease or anything like that. But
right, yeah, that's interesting because the American Indians they do have a little bit of variety. I mean, as a matter of fact, they even have some Africans, some some European, some actually Javan, and from the Mediterranean. They, and in some cases Jewish,
Mhm.
a whole bunch of different things, and Assyrian too. So believe it or not, there is some variation in American Indians, and you can see the difference between the shapes of their faces. You
I mean,
look
I
at
can't
pictures
imagine
of
that these tribes were going to war, if they were closely related like that, I think that these are all groups that came at different times, and then they saw that there were other groups there, and so they became warring tribes that way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but they're naturally warring. They war with their own tribes. That's
Okay.
what tribal life is. It's you
I
get
mean, I know
them
that the
before they get.
Navajos used to take the Hopi women. They would take them and rape them and things like that. That was apparently one of the reasons why my wife's lineage is that way. But uh, apparently they also have a very specific way that they do their hair. The Hopi women. So that's like another tribal trait, I guess you could say, or I should say it's a tradition.
Yeah, tradition. Yeah,
Mhm.
tradition is like a language.
Right, exactly.
People been warring forever. I mean, forever.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter if it's Europe, if it's Africa, South America. It's always been warring tribes, one against
Well, I mean, if you see all the things that are happening around the world today, and then you can take it in the
China.
context what Jesus said. He said, "As in the days of Noah, shall the days be before the Son of Man returns." I mean, that you just think about that. How was it? How was it before the flood? It was
Yeah,
way
but
worse than what we're seeing today.
that verse continues on to say they were eating and drinking and marrying. Okay, so
Right.
you could just take that to mean that it was just like everyday life, and then bam, like the flood came.
Yeah,
So like
Right.
Yeah.
like basically people weren't expecting it.
No, I
Or
agree.
yeah.
But
or
I
you could
also,
take it as like you're saying, like what exactly was going on, so that I know, what was life like exactly, so that I know. But
well, I mean, I agree that I'm sure the majority of the people were living life just like we are today. But as far as like because it also says that that the thoughts of man were darkened, right, and that
perpetual evil.
yeah,
That's crazy.
it was perpetual evil constantly. That's all they ever thought about.
Can you
And
imagine that?
so, oh my gosh, I was sitting there thinking about, I was like, man, just to
That's
imagine,
harsh.
because I'm not sure what is considered. I know that like God sees many things as evil, and I completely understand that. I'm just saying that I think that whenever he's referring to that, for some reason, it just screams to me. We're talking about like some really bad stuff.
Oh, it's harsh
like,
language, but I mean, God judged the entire world for it. So I mean,
right,
it definitely
Yeah,
exactly,
was.
considering that they were a lot more intelligent than we are, they probably doing some bad stuff.
Mm,
right, and
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do think that we're like degraded copies. I shouldn't say copies, but obviously we're different lives. But I mean, our genetics have been watered down, diluted heavily.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
and I
Speaking
mean,
of the
we're
end
starting to
we're
lose
times,
basically
information. Sort of
what's
that.
the
we're
verse that says
basically
like knowledge?
dysfunctional human beings. No, go
Yeah.
ahead.
What was that, Dan?
I was gonna say that the verse that says knowledge will increase. I mean, that's
Yeah,
Yeah,
apparent today. I mean,
that's in
you go from
Daniel,
yeah.
right?
1800 to
That's
today. Come on.
that's the only thing that helps. That's the only thing that saves us from being, uh, you know, destroying ourselves is the knowledge. That's the only thing that's helping us in spite of our degradation or
You,
dysfunctionality
I
is
mean,
our
you take the
information.
like
Sorry.
Tower of Babel, right? So God, he made the tribes of man, basically confused the tongues. I'm thinking like,
Hmm.
because if he didn't, basically we all the way back then, knowledge would increase so fast.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
We'd,
I agree.
I was just watching a video where they discovered the Greeks were like, they had a lot of knowledge too, and some people are saying if they lived 300 more years, they would have gone to the moon, which
I
is
don't
a stretch,
doubt
but
that though. You think about how fast. I mean, it's
Well,
an
what the
exponential growth. Good
You know
for
what the
thousands
biggest
of years.
contributing factor was to their fault of all of the civilizations for Rome and the Greek
Yeah,
society?
every civilization was decadence.
It was it was the
Corrupt-
debauchery regarding
corruption.
like homosexual and because
Yeah,
okay, so
yeah.
Nero, right? The Roman Emperor Nero. This man had taken a boy that was 13 years old and castrated him, and then turned him into his wife. This is the kind of stuff that was becoming a normal thing in their society. And eventually that led to the downfall of their society because they were allowing so when liberalism becomes an issue, that's when you have this fall of society.
Yes. It implodes. It implodes. It self-destructs.
Yeah.
Like
And that's what
what is
we're
too
trying.
liberal, right? Like
We're
that's the
yelling.
question.
We're yelling and screaming at the top of our lungs. You're destroying everything. You're destroying the whole world, but they don't hear it.
Yep.
Right.
They don't see it. They don't hear it. They're blinded to the truth.
Well, they also see it as they're being persecuted, which is nonsense. I mean, I have never seen a homosexual be like beaten or screamed at. I have not once, not in my entire life. The only thing I've ever seen, in regarding to these people is them yelling and screaming at people like like that are Christians or that are just against their movement in general, as far as like the homosexual marriage goes. I always thought that was a really weird thing. I'm like why even care if you need to get married or not? Like, we both know that you're probably not going to stick with that person. so let's be honest here, right?
It is strange to be anti-traditional culture, right? But to
Mhm.
embrace marriage for some reason. It's just a
Yeah, it
pervert.
makes zero sense. Well, I mean, not to mention that so obviously these are hedonists, like I was, whenever I was not a Christian, and so why would they stick with just one person? Why would monogamy even matter to these people, right? It shouldn't. It should not make a difference at all.
It's just because it's the way God intended it, and they're everything anti-God. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I do think
And
that
they're
it's a
trying.
manipulation. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And they're trying to mimic. They're trying to mimic what's good, too.
Right. That's right. Yeah, that is what Satan was trying to do, is just like spit in the face of God for the things that he did create, and then manipulate and warp it to something else. And that's all. That's all
Which
that
is
Satan
what
can do.
evolution does. That's what evolution does too. It just warps the
The
organism.
fact, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny because we knew that adaptation was a thing long before Darwinian evolution came about, right? And if that's the case, why would you ever assume that adaptation is not the only thing that happens, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
that
like,
this is
where's
something
the
that's already
information
in
going?
there. Sorry, go ahead.
Where's the information going to come from?
Right. Exactly. That's the main question that Stephen Meyer is talking about. And I just think it's funny. The guy's got 2 PhDs, and they're over here saying that he's not a scientist, that he doesn't he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm like, yes, he does. He has a philosophy of science PhD. He reviews the literature constantly.
I call myself jungle jargon because I came from the Amazon, and
Yeah.
I can understand how an organism can't be something other than what it has information to do. If I can understand it, everybody should be able to understand. There's no excuse.
Right.
Yeah, I agree, JJ. I mean, this isn't so. I mean, the details, yeah, they're complex, but the overarching principles are rather obvious and simple, if you ask me. I mean,
Well, here's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
so if Darwinian evolution really worked or even neo-Darwinism in that sense, then we should expect to see the kind of creatures that you would see from like a Star Wars film, right? This
yeah, exactly.
popping up into existence, literally, just like so a bird laid an egg and it popped out a lizard, and then it became something else. That's the kind of stuff that we should be expecting to see.
Or we should be
but-
seeing a biogenesis of living organisms popping
Right.
up all over the place.
It's interesting when you hear these like UFO abduction stories. It's like lizard people, bird people.
Yeah.
It's all like evolution. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, if a biogenesis was a case, then we should see organisms popping up all over the place, failing. Some of them surviving, but you don't see anything close to that, and for good reason, because it can't happen.
No, I agree with you. I think that it's just at this point we have enough evidence to show that this is not a very likely scenario. And when I see
It's,
that, I mean impossible by our own
so
standards.
yeah, but it's impossible thousands of times over. It's like
Well, I mean,
people don't
every
get
single
it.
time that we turn around, there's another block that would stop it right in its tracks. And when I watched that series with Dr. James Tour, long before he made the actual abiogenesis series against Professor Dave,
Yeah,
I was just
I
astounded. I'm like, man,
responded.
this guy is a PhD chemist.
Did you
He
respond? Did you guys respond to them, Dave? Dave's
Farina?
response. Yeah,
No, I didn't look at his
I
response. I
responded
don't
to
really
him.
care what you think.
He responded to me 3 times,
Yeah.
and I haven't checked to see if he responded back because I responded back to him.
Uh-huh.
But
Well, I mean, he doesn't have anything
yeah,
of substance, so that's the interesting thing. He doesn't even have a master's in chemistry, but he's here
but
talking about.
and
Um,
and the fact that he would make a response to James Tour's video is just
Yeah.
unreal. And he thinks he's right. He thinks he has a case. He brought on other scientists that agree with him, and they made some of a kind of a case. But I started watching the video, and it was all nonsense. So I told Dave Farina, I said, this is all nonsense. It's a waste of time. If you're going to start out with some kind of rebuttal, you have to give something substantial. You didn't start out with
right.
anything substantial, so it's a waste of time. And I'm not even watching the rest of the video because I know it's all rubbish.
That's right. It's just peddling nonsense, and I agree. Like when that's the thing. I was one of the people that told James Tour about that video that he made, because I was like, "What the heck are you talking about?" Elucidating the agenda of James Tour. Are you a moron? Like the guy is a
Yeah, really.
PhD chemist that is world renowned. He's the most cited chemist that I'm aware of. Seriously, what the heck? Where are you getting that he doesn't know what he's talking about? Just because
Deluded.
he's not in Origin of Life research doesn't matter. The guy's a chemist. The guy can literally look at any chemistry paper and say, yes, that makes sense, or that doesn't make any sense. It's that simple. And then when you hear people like Dave Farina, oh, this is possible because I think so, right? Are you serious, man?
No, to them it's possible
Yeah.
because it has to have happened. It had.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a committed naturalist, right?
That's not an argument. Yeah.
No, it's not.
I mean, it doesn't mean it was a natural cause. I mean, it did happen, but it wasn't a natural cause. It didn't happen under natural circumstances.
Right. No, I completely agree, and that's the whole point we were trying to make. And I'm so glad that he did that series because it just shredded all of Dave's points to pieces. Yep. But I mean, even the people that would have come on to Dave Farina's channel to say, yeah, well, I don't agree with James Tour, they can't say that with a straight face, and knowing that he's going to review that stuff and say, okay, yeah, if you think that, then I want you to see your evidence. Just show me what you got, right? And they're never going to provide it. They're not once going to provide anything. All the points that Dave did bring up were already completely taken care of in that series.
Yeah, they claimed to have all this evidence, and he brought on some. I didn't even see the scientists he brought on, but he said he had scientists that agree with him.
So he didn't actually have a scientist that came on?
No, he said he has other scientists that agree with him. The scientists that James Tour used, he said the scientists that James Tour used to support his position don't support his position.
But they didn't come onto his channel to say that, right?
I didn't watch the rest of the video, so I didn't even pay attention to me.
That's funny.
He didn't have anything substantial anyway, so I didn't even watch the rest of the video.
Yeah. I mean, it's just banter. The guy wants to make a case without actually having evidence, and that's the way I see it. And like I said, I used to be.
I'm not even curious. I'm not even curious what the other scientist said, because I know it's rubbish too.
Well, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Like, if they can't provide an actual evidence that shows it is highly likely that these specific amino acids were able to form a chain to create this protein and then somehow make topoisomerase, I would be like, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a really good evidence. But if they can't show that, I'm going to be like, you're a moron.
Because if you don't start out with something if you don't start out with some substantial rational, you're not going to finish with what's rational either. Oh,
Well, I mean,
sorry,
whenever
Pigs.
Sal showed me the videos regarding Tibble summaries, I was just astounded by that too. I was like, look, this clearly requires forethought. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this because it has to know about certain laws of physics in order for it to even be derived in the first place to do its job. And it
Quantum
comes in
physics.
2 different forms to do 2 different jobs. Like, what? What are you talking about?
The quantum tunneling. There's quantum tunneling. There's a whole bunch of things in biology that they don't even know about yet.
Sorry, I'm
Information
doing my dishes
storage.
right now.
There's information storage in the carbohydrates that they don't even know. I mean, they say it's more information than what's in DNA.
Mm-hmm.
What's in the carbohydrates?
Yeah, I mean, we basically have the Schrodinger's cat situation constantly going on in our biology, and people don't ever question how that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, photosynthesis. You're turning light waves into energy. You're turning light radiation, photons. You're turning photons into usable energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, food, carbohydrates.
Yeah, whenever people bring up that argument regarding the Bible about how did the plants survive, without light from the sun, and I'm like, what was the first thing? What does the first verse of the Bible say? Right, it says, God said, "Let there be light." Right.
On the first day, right?
On the first day, yeah, let there be light. In the beginning,
Yeah.
and then that's his first words. So you don't need the sun
which is another
if there's
thing.
a light source.
Which is another thing. It's very clear what the text says. It says darkness covered the surface of the earth,
Yes.
And the earth was formless and void, and covered with water. It's very clear. And then God said, "Let there be light."
Mm-hmm.
Then the spirit of the God moved over to the surface of the waters, and then land appeared.
That's right.
It's very specific, And if you look at the pre-flood layers, sediment layers, there are water deposited sediment layers in the pre-flood layers, because it was a water world. Before there was land, it was a water world.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And I think that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm pretty sure that this is alluding to the fact that that the elements were probably like a watery substance, of some kind, and that he's the one that gave the elements their different properties, before, from whatever they were before this.
Yeah,
no, I'm not saying that this matter.
Forced. Yeah, all the elements are forced to be what they are. They're,
right.
It's just by
because they don't
energy,
have to have the properties
power.
that they do.
Yeah.
Right. They don't. It's been scientifically proven that they don't have to be. In fact, you can turn one element into another element, right? By changing the protons and electrons.
By compressing it.
Right. And so if that's the case, then we should never expect. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm over here, dude.
So every element, all the heavy elements, every element, the 20 elements that are working parts inside of us are forced to be what they are, and they happen to be what we need to exist, to be programmed. And I'm a mechanic. I never saw a working part make itself.
Right, exactly.
We have 20 elements that are all essential, the most common elements in the universe.
Who was it? There was somebody that John was talking to, John Maddox. He said that so they made the point, they believe that it's possible for PHP written software to write itself, apparently, over time. And when I heard that, I busted out laughing so hard. I was like,
he's always getting the quacks saying stuff like that.
I just can't. I'm like
trying to explain to them, yeah,
bro,
it's just not possible.
It's not. It's hilarious. It's laughably not so. That's the sad thing.
And
But of course,
and
they don't
that's
want to
only
admit that.
one. And that's only one aspect of life is the sequencing of the information. You have
Mhm.
to put things together too. You have to put everything together so that
Mhm.
it functions. The proteins have to be in place, and the information to make the proteins have to be there too.
Mhm.
You know, it all has to be there all at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, it has to be simultaneous. And not just spontaneous, like
Yeah,
simultaneous. Like as in, it has to be
and
the
male and
exact
female.
same time.
Yeah, and male and female too. All has to be there. All has to be in place. All the information has to be there.
Hmm.
It's called creation.
Yes.
That's what that is. It's creation. Creation is evident.
I wish it
But
was easier to show that to people that don't want to see it, but we know that
but did
that's.
they teach us this in school? I never heard it. I never heard this
No.
taught in school. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
people are very misinformed. That's why people are so misinformed and think crazy things.
Yep.
I mean, we were talking to this guy last night. What was his name? Jamie somebody?
Hmm.
It was like we're taking him there, you know, and he just refuses to go there, you know. We're showing him step by step everything, and he doesn't want to go there. He doesn't want to consider. Doesn't
Yeah,
want
you
to
can
think
lead a
about
horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right?
it. Yeah.
It's just sad, but it's true.
And he seemed like a nice guy. He acted like a nice guy, everything, except he
Mhm.
just wouldn't accept or, you know,
Well, you know that guy,
acknowledge the
Linguisti?
truth. He wouldn't acknowledge the truth. Yeah.
You seen Linguisti around a couple times?
He was there in the chat. I didn't see him.
Oh, was he?
I mean, he was in the chat. John's chat. He was in John's chat.
Okay. Yeah. I had a miniature debate with him. I want to say like a week ago, and it's just funny because he was saying all these things about how the Bible could be false. I'm like, have you even read the Bible? He's like, well, I've read up to where, Lot and his family. I'm like, so you've read up to Sodom and Gomorrah, right, where it's being destroyed? I'm like, you got a long way to go, man. That's like maybe the first 5 chapters of the Bible. Like,
Yeah,
what,
yeah. He
what's
says, I
going on here,
started
man?
reading. I'm going to read it. I started reading. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it.
Right. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not even on the first page of the gospel, let alone, the resurrection. And you're over here talking about the resurrection as if you know what's going on. I'm
But
like,
they
why don't
read
you
it.
just.
They read it
Sorry.
with the intent to quote debunk it unquote or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's
They
And
read the anti-biblical sites before they read the Bible.
yeah. They have
That's
Bible
their
studies.
reading.
It just cracks me up. That's the best.
Yeah,
Bible studies,
that's
atheist church. That's the best.
that's their reading of the Bible. They go to an atheist site that allegedly debunks the Bible and all those
exactly.
talking points. And that's their reading of the Bible. Is those talking points?
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
If only those same passages would lead somebody to the Lord, that'd be great. Like somebody was like, wait
All
a
they have
second,
to
that's
do is
interesting.
get interested. Just get interested in what it actually says, and then
Yeah.
that could happen.
They're
Well, I mean, I love the
spiritually
passage.
blinded to it. They're not. You know what I mean? I really think they're just spiritually blinded. They're just some of the things atheists say, and it's just so absurd. I mean, they're just
Yeah, it's
Right.
their heart. Their heart is shut down, shut off.
exactly.
Come on, let's change that.
They can't consider logic, facts, reason, rationality. They can't let that creep in.
No.
Right. Yeah. If they give any leeway, then of course they have to admit that it's possible, right, that God exists. And once they do that, then they've already lost. Essentially, they know this
Right.
to be true. So
Right. They
it's
should
kinda
know
sad.
they're lost anyway. They're lost. I mean, all these atheists, they should know they lost before they even started.
I think in a sense they do know. I mean, they do.
Even Richard Dawkins, especially Richard Dawkins and P.Z. Myers, they should know they lost
Mhm.
before they even started, and they don't even know who they're messing with anyway.
Even when I called myself an atheist, I knew God existed. I did. I just didn't want to, you know. I wanted to embrace my
Yeah,
own debauchery, basically, my like hedonistic lifestyle.
That's right.
It, you know, and I mean, when you're in the midst of it, you're
and,
not going to say that, but
yeah,
you know what's
and
right and what's wrong. You know you're doing wrong. You just know it.
I, I had the fortune of never being an atheist. I always believed in God, even though I knew I was doing wrong. I knew I was messing up. I still knew
Yeah.
I was rebelling against God.
No, I mean I think I always knew too. Uh, you know,
Yeah,
I mean from as long as I could remember, I believed in God. I mean I was raised Roman Catholic, but I mean I always, I don't know, at night, like I always still, like when I was little, I remember praying to God. Like I remember when my grandfather died. I remember praying. I remember when my father got in a car accident. I remember praying. I mean,
yeah,
and I don't think anyone had to tell me there was a God. I think you just know. You're born with it almost.
yeah. I I remember listening to preachers and teachers, and you know, and I I actually got into it. They when I was 6 years old, they put us 6 year olds in front, actually almost on stage, with in little chairs facing the pulpit in front of everybody, and so we had to pay attention, and I paid attention from that day on. I was into it. I got into the teaching and the preaching, you know, my entire life.
Right.
Well, I mean, I was
All right, guys, I gotta go. I gotta go to work. But nice talking to both of you. God bless both of
yeah, I
you.
gotta go soon
Yeah, me
too. I
too.
appreciate it. It's great
All
talking to
right.
you,
I
Cowboy.
gotta mow the lawn. I gotta mow the lawn.
Move along.
All right, see you guys.
Yeah.
All right,
All
God bless you.
right.
Take care.
Okay, so yeah, some of us have responsibilities. We gotta mow the lawn. You know, imagine a 6 year old JJ sitting in the chair in front of everybody. And we couldn't. Everything we did, people would see what we're doing, so we couldn't act up. That was funny. All right. God bless everybody. Hope I didn't miss anything. Johnny Deputy, that's a smart idea. Yeah. Yeah, it was good. And to top it off, it was a thatch roof church with a dirt floor and wooden benches. And it was a real blessing. God bless everybody. Take care.